Warning, the media that is about to play will most definitely contain graphic and foul language. You probably won't hear the word clunge and cockwomble, but other American swear words intended solely for entertainment. The opinions shared here may not be shared by everyone, and in some instances will troll you and the rest of the internet. Not intentionally, of course. If you are easily offended, don't have a sense of humour, or have your head that far up your own arse you need a glass stomach to see out, this probably isn't for you. But for everyone else, have a good time, and as always, stay creative.
Hey everybody, welcome to STS with SilverBaX. Today on the show I've got Kyle with me and we're going to talk comic books. We're going to talk all kinds of crazy stuff and it's brought to you by Capone Streams. Stay tuned. What's up, Kyle?
Hello from Florida.
Hello from Florida. That wasn't the question. I said what's up, but you said hello from Florida.
My blood pressure is kind of up right now. I'm keeping that in check with medication.
Okay, yeah.
There's a whole lot of.
I'm on the, I've been told, I went to the doctor recently and I've been told that I need to not be as fat. I don't think that was the words that they used, but being fat doesn't help with high blood pressure.
You can read between the lines, it sounds like. Yeah, well.
Yeah, well, I'm very aware.
I'm...
Being overweight is no fun. And I just...
It's not cheap either. Our clothes are more expensive, you know?
I wish I didn't lack the self-discipline. Like, I know it's just a matter of self-discipline to avoid this rotund figure that I have. And I still have yet to put anything in action.
I'm hit or miss with the stopping myself because I had to stop drinking.
Yeah,
heavily, and I just gave it up completely because why drink a little bit? That's like drinking decaf coffee. So I didn't even. I just quit drinking completely. But I can't walk past a can of cashews without just destroying it. So it doesn't stand a chance. So I don't know what it is with me. I can quit drinking completely on the turn stop of a dime, and then, but other things not so much.
Now on the cashews, you could probably get the unsalted cashews and be a little better for you. Or is that just not an option?
Well, I mean, no. I mean, why eat a cashew if it doesn't have salt on it? One, but two. Even if it was salted, if you have a normal, healthy human dose of cashews, you'll be fine. But I gotta take it the extra mile, and this one's mine, and I think mine is the one on the bottom, so I gotta eat the rest of them to get to that one.
Yes, I follow a similar path when it comes to portion control. I am not one for portion control. It's either all mine or don't bother.
That's it.
So, you don't sound like you have a Florida accent. You sound like you have some other type of accent. Are you native to Florida?
Well, I grew up in Florida. I was born in South Jersey, and at 2 months old, my family uprooted and went to Birmingham, Alabama.
I've been there.
And when I was five, we moved to Fort Lauderdale, Florida for 6 months and then looked for a house, and I ended up, we found a home in Homestead. So I lived all my formative years. I lived in Homestead, Florida from 5 to 18. I think it was 10 a.m. on my 18th birthday, and I got the hell out of there.
All right, but you've been in Florida since you were 5.
Most of my life, yes.
Well, it doesn't. Do you hang around a lot of Jersey people? Because you still have that Jersey. A couple of syllables sound like they're that East Coast syllables.
Yeah, I don't know. It's my cadence is a mutt, if you will.
Yeah, people have trouble deciphering where I'm from. Like I tell them, they're like, "Oh, you're not from the South. You must be from up north, or you must be from the Midwest, or." Whatever. So I'm like, I grew up and went to middle school and high school in Georgia, but I don't sound real twangy in my Southern speech.
Well, not everybody does, which is, thank God. 'Cause you got to be able to tell people apart somehow. If everybody from the South had a twang, I'd be in Wisconsin right now.
It'd be tough. Well, dude, the Wisconsin twang is totally different. Like I can't do that one all either. All the milk.
They say, It's very cute how a girl from Wisconsin says,
So you're in Florida. What is it you do for work, sir?
I splice together 1,000 different jobs to make a living. I'm a freelance artist. At the heart of it, I do anything from logo concept to design to, painting pictures of Spider-Man over ripped up comic book pages.
I've seen
really
a couple of the I've seen a couple of the ones where you have like a map, like you've taken like a city map.
So that just started this year, and like most revelations in art or anything, it was very serendipitous. I have a habit, me and the wife, we go to Big Lots. I always go look and see if there's action figures on the cheap in there that I can paint or repurpose.
Yeah.
Paint as a different character. And then we go next door to Ross, and I wait for her to look through, the seasonal dresses or whatever, and just look at the figures that they have in there. So I went into Big Lots, there was nothing. So I was in and out of Big Lots in like 2 seconds, and I'm next door at Ross, and I'm killing time. She's taken what seems forever because it took me such a short amount of time at Big Lots. I'm walking around Ross, and I'm just, oh, God, can we go home, please? There was nothing for me to buy. And I saw this atlas. It was a spiral-bound atlas.
Mm-hmm.
And I only opened the pages just because, every time you see a map or an atlas nowadays, the pages are UV-coded. But just on the off chance that they weren't, I opened it up, and the pages weren't UV-coded. And I shut it back and looked at the price, and it was like $3.99. And I was like, I can draw on this. I'm buying this. I can use it. I can use it as background. I can do something with it. So I brought it home, and I flipped it open to a random. It was like 11 by 15, and I usually draw on 11 by 14, so it was perfect size.
Okay.
Another point of appeal for it, So I get home, and when I have a moment, I open it up to a random page, and then it was Nebraska, and I have an Echo in my kitchen living room area. So I said, Alexa, tell me some celebrities from Nebraska. And she's like, I know 4 billion celebrities from Nebraska, including Malcolm X. And I was like, all right, Alexa, stop. And I was like, I don't know why, but I took a moment and I thought it was humorous to me that Malcolm X was from Nebraska.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was funny, but it made me chuckle.
You say that and you immediately think he's like from Brooklyn or Queens or from somewhere in South Carolina.
Nebraska. You could say Illinois and it would seem less bizarre than Nebraska. It's just very corn pone in my mind, it seems to me, middle of nowhere. But so I drew a picture of Malcolm X on this, and I went through all the different mediums. I drew Kevin Hart on the state that he was from with pencil, and then I drew Biggie over a map of New York and ballpoint pen, and I went through all the different mediums until I found what I really liked. And what I ended up settling on was I'll draw the character out with skin tones in Copic marker.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll use spray adhesive and spray it to the back of one of my art prints because they're on that thicker cardstock. So because this thin, un-UV coated page would wrinkle beneath any kind of wetness. So I would spray adhere it to a print, and then I would go with acrylic paint, water it down, and go over it lightly with acrylic so that the end result, it looked like an acrylic painting, but it's really just a touched up Copic marker sketch over the page out of this atlas. And I started posting these, and I got really good feedback on them. Better than I had gotten, if you're looking at your Instagram and Facebook metrics, better than I had been getting on my page for a while. People see, oh, it's another superhero drawing. So this was something different. It was a different medium. It was a different style. I was doing, celebrities as opposed to superheroes, which I kind of got pigeonholed in there for a while. And it kind of woke my audience up. And people were really responding well to them. I sold a couple of them right off the bat, and then I did an event at it's called the Thrasher Horn Center. It's a performing arts center, so it's adjacent to the St. John's River State College. It's owned by the college, and they Kenny Rogers and Boyz II Men played there in the last 2 years.
Okay.
It's for being such a small city, they pull in really nice events.
Oh wow, your volume has changed.
They have they have a gallery there. The Thrasher Horn has a pretty nice, I wouldn't say prestigious, but nicer than any gallery I've shown my art in before. And when they have their quarterly opening receptions for their installations, they have this thing called Thursdays at Thrasher, where they'll have local artists come in and set up and kind of have a indoor art walk. And it didn't cost anything to set up, so I applied and I did one.
All right.
And when I got there and I set up, the director of the operations comes over to me, and she was like, 3 different people have told me your name when I said that I had a show we were getting ready to do called Icons and Legends. She's like, would you be interested in showing your Atlas series off in the gallery here? And I was like, yep. Yep.
Well, that's awesome.
And,
did you change something on your audio settings?
Bigger pieces, because like we had discussed, me and you, these were 11-inch by 14-inch
I don't think
pages,
you can hear
so
me.
they wanted to see some big stuff in addition. So I did a series. I did 6 or 7 24 by 36 canvases where I put the maps over, the canvas with wallpaper paste the same way I do the comic book pages when I do those collages. And I currently have an installation at the Thrasher Warren Gallery.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Kyle. We seem to have lost Kyle. Somehow something has changed and we've lost Kyle.
Oh man, how long has it been since I lost you?
No. You just lost the ability to hear me. I heard your conversation.
Okay, good. So my Bluetooth, I don't know, it didn't die because it's still turned on, but my audio from you stopped going through it.
All right, so
now we're on.
So I heard you say that you had the installation, and congratulations on that.
I appreciate that.
But I've noticed. Well, first off, do you make prints of these? Like I know that you're doing one of a kind. It's an 11 by 14. You said 11 by 15, and
yeah, I have the originals available, and I've made prints of the ones that people have requested prints of as well.
Now, how do you go about getting prints of something like that? Do you have to scan them in?
Oh man, so the whole process of getting prints done was, I don't know why it had to be so hard to figure this out. Oh my God. So when I, first decided that I was going to be an artist and I was going to want to show at an art walk and even have print reproductions of my artwork.
Yeah.
I went all over the place, and I had people, when I first started out, it was just ballpoint pen illustrations. I say just ballpoint pen, but that's what they were. They were illustrations of celebrities and animals and whatnot. And I would go somewhere to try to get prints made, like fast signs, and they would hand me a stack of like washed out photocopies of my work. It was toner. It was just really bad.
Yeah.
So finally I walked into this little art supply store and I saw this dude who looked like a Samoan hippie. And I walked in, and he worked there, and I walked up to him and I was like, please God, for the love of God, help me. I need to get prints made. And I had already went through a couple nightmare scenarios that I don't need to go over now. I'm sure you've been there, done that. And this guy pointed me in the right direction. He actually overshot. He had me go to a gallery, and I went to a place that was way above my pay grade, and I spent way too much money to have my first set of prints done. But I watched the way they did it. They took a 28 megapixel high resolution camera, took photographs of the pieces instead of scanning them.
Okay.
Where the bright light will wash out the ink. And I watched the process. So I learned from them, and I've been making my own prints ever since. I take a high-resolution photograph. I make sure that it's during the day. I go outside. I photograph the piece underneath a tree in overcast light. Tweak it in Photoshop, get my file size right, make sure that I'm using CMYK color mode instead of RGB, and I get my own prints made.
Well, that's awesome. I was just curious because I know some people that do paintings and oil painting, like any type of like 3D medium. It's not like you can just throw that dude in a scanner and scan a print.
Correct, especially the paintings, because of the fact that a lot of my newer stuff, the Sketch Atlas series, the paint is sometimes a quarter of an inch up, elevated off the canvas.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to turn the painting multiple, turn it upside down, put it sideways, and I have to splice together multiple images with Photoshop of the same painting to get it to look the way I wanted to for print reproduction. So you don't see the shadow from that glob of paint, and that, the brightness isn't too high on that side. And
yeah, it sounds like an art form in itself.
It is, and it's something that, if I was going to pay somebody else to do it, they charge you $40 per painting just to prep the file before they print the first print of it. And now I know why. So I just, I'm cheap enough and stubborn enough that I just learned that process on my own, which is why I'm able to do as many different things in the industry that I do, is because I don't want to pay somebody else to do something that I could very well learn how to do myself.
All right, and now that atlas has a finite number of pages and locations in it. Do you do commissions? Like, can someone say, hey, I am from Ocala, Florida. Can you pull up a Florida Ocala piece and put me on there? Or famous person X that's from my home city?
Absolutely. So it must have been 6th or 7th piece that I had done. I had enough people asking me if I would do a commission that the following day I went back up to Ross and I bought all the atlases that they had left. So I have 6 or 7 of them. So yeah, there's about an average of 1.5 for each state. There'll be two of New York, but there'll only be 1 of Kansas or whatever. But between the 6 books, I got plenty of pages, and I can order. Now I know the brand name. I can order new ones off Amazon if I need to. But I've definitely done several commissions for people on my social media following.
That's pretty awesome. Now, if anyone's interested, how much does an original atlas piece go for?
$100.
All right, and what do the prints?
One of a kind. I sell prints of my pieces for $20.
All right.
On my website, artofkylewillis.com.
Do you do that through the mail, or is that like, do you ship them in tubes?
Yeah, I've got a whole shipping station set up in the house. I put them in a piece, in a bag and with a foam core board, and put them in a rigid mailer and ship it right out to you. It's like $2.99 for the shipping. It's $23.99 shipped.
Oh, okay, well, right on. That's that's fairly that is some pretty decent pricing, sir. Like you've worked that down.
I'm priced to sell.
Now,
but everything is a science, and it's a learning curve. That's one of the most frequently asked questions that I get when I'm at an art walk and there's a budding artist. They're like, "Hey, well, what do you charge for? What should I charge for this?" And holy crap, that's a loaded question, and it's one that only the answer can ask. I can tell you what I charge, but you shouldn't base it off of what I charge. You should look at what I charge. The 17 other people that you meet, you should look at what they charge. You should look at what your costs are.
Yeah, there's
charge what you're worth.
It's like a humongous like equation. Like,
correct. And you got to look at your demographic. If you're only selling in your city, you have to look at what your price point is. You could put up a price point that could sell. You could sell out of them in New York, but you might live in a small town. You might have to lower your prices because otherwise you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You have to meet the demands of the demographic. If you go into a Publix in Boca Raton, the onions are $3 a pound. You go into a Publix here, they're $1.97 a pound. There's a reason for that. The cost of living is different in different cities. Their materials have a different cost. People are used to paying a different amount for artwork in that city. So you have to adjust yourself. You have to be open. You have to look at all these different bullet points and factor them in accordingly.
Now so when you're doing your atlas stuff, you're doing likeness work, but you also do comic book stuff that is not really likeness based. Which
Correct.
do you prefer, the illustrative comic book style or the likeness work?
I like both. To be quite honest, people say that I make a portrait look easy, but it's not. And I mess as many of them up as I complete that look good enough to post. You still make mistakes even if you've been doing it for years. And portraits don't. Sometimes you look at a person and you go, "Wow, that guy he's just screaming to be drawn." Like I think of Steve Buscemi's face and I think, "Man, I want to draw that guy," because it's a playground of curves and and wrinkles
and absolutely
and
no symmetry.
And yeah, correct. And the person who I dread drawing the most is Norman Reedus, because everybody wants him, and he is the hardest human being that I've ever drawn. And I've drawn him 3 or 4. He's just got this bland, blah, nothing stands out about him at all face.
Yeah, his eyes are so swollen that there's no wrinkles above the eye. And
he almost looks Chinese because they're so squinty.
His lips are almost non-existent.
Yes.
Like it is very tough to pull that off.
So it's easier to do the comic characters maybe when I'm doing the paintings over collage, but I think I enjoy the challenge because I spend 80% of the journey to the end result going, this sucks, this is horrible, I need to start over. And in that last 20% of the way, it's like you're down, it's like you already walked up the descent to the top of the slide, and the last 20% of the painting, you're sliding down going, woo, it's coming together, baby.
Now, your likeness work, is that all straight eyeball, or are you like using a projector, or do you use?
Most of the time, I'm gridding it out. I use the grid method. I spent a lot. I got my start drawing by necessity, drawing likenesses of people by eye, and it was like anything else, hit or miss. It either depending on the drawability of the person and my focus, it either looked just like them or it looked like it could be their distant cousin.
Yeah, it looks like they're stunt double.
Yeah, so the grid method is what I use most of the time.
Yeah, I do remember that from high school.
If I need to blow it up, I don't really use the projector so much because let's go back to the fact that I'm cheap. The only one that I have is a really cheap kids projector, so I rarely use it. I just use a website called Blockposter, and I blow my artwork. I'll do a normal size sketch on a piece of a Bristol 8.5 by 11 piece of Bristol that I can scan in, and I'll blow it up with a website called Blockposter, and then I'll print it out, tape the pages together, and it allows you to blow it up to any size you want in increments of the 8.5 by 11. And then I'll blow that up, tape it together, and I'll use that to help myself map out the dimensions of the face to get going.
All right. Well, I did not know that. I just was curious how some people pull off the amazing likeness work. And I'm curious, who are the guys that are just doing straight eyeball, or some people? I just wanted to know what your technique was, and the grid technique I am very familiar with because it's one of the earliest things that they teach you when you're in school in art class is recreate.
Oh, wow, man. I never learned the grid method in art class. I did all kinds of stuff. I was always electing to take the art class when I could, and I never learned that. It wasn't until, I want to say, 2006, 2007 that I even learned it because I wanted to be able to draw while people were watching, and I didn't want to, I didn't want anybody to accuse me of tracing, and I didn't want to have to trace. So I was like, let me do this. I wanted to challenge myself to draw in front of my coworkers, and I learned this grid method. I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I wouldn't, because I don't mind drawing in front of people, but like I said, you're hit or miss. And I didn't want to. I wanted to cut my misses down to zero.
Well, and you definitely don't want to miss with people watching.
Right. So that's how I discovered the grid method. But I mean, I'll freehand them too. I did a variant cover for comic NYCC exclusive that's coming out. I don't know if you're familiar
congratulations on that.
I appreciate that. There's a dude that's named Malice. He does Steve McDonald and Clan McDonald comics.
It does not sound familiar right off the bat, but that doesn't.
All right. So there's a big retailer, and his right hand man is this guy named Malice. And Malice has a comic out and asked me to do he saw the Big E that I did, and he was like, he wanted me to do his character over a map of New York. So he went down to the city and he got a bunch of the New York City subway transit maps and mailed them to me, and I put them on a huge canvas. And he was all excited he wanted to see the process. And usually I'll send the client progress photos. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go ahead and do this live.
Uh-oh.
So he got all his followers on his comic page. The comic's called Malice, Chaos Theory #1. So he got all his followers to tune in, and he shared the live video. And I went live, and I painted it live. I didn't use grid method or anything. I just went right at it.
Oh, just straight out there in the open.
Yeah. So, and it was the first time that I went, I got about halfway done with the piece before I had to let it dry because the paint was just too thick.
Yeah.
You can't do anything with it, and I had to let it dry. But the piece is now done. But yeah, I did the first half of the painting live on my Facebook page. And
now, in order to get that cover, you're going to take the photos of it.
I did. I've got the files. I can show them to you after we get off. And show you what the cover is going to look like. I don't think he's quite ready to post it.
No. I understand.
Art publicly yet, but I'll share it with you.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Of course, it'll be printed in time for October, so I'll have copies of the comic available next time I do a convention.
Now, speaking of doing conventions, do you venture outside of Florida?
Only I've done JekyllCon in Georgia,
Yeah, that's basically that's like Florida Light.
Correct. And then I've gone up for Free Comic Book Day. I go to, sometimes I'll go up to Kingdom Comics in Vestavia Hills, Alabama. But I stick to Florida for the most part. I still consider myself on the on-ramp to the convention circuit, and I really don't want to go doing a whole lot of other shows and out of state until my own comic is out. And then I'll be pushing my own intellectual property instead of being another guy hustling Spider-Man pictures.
Yeah, the fan art guys.
Yeah.
Now, say you're working on a comic book. What IP are you working on that's going to be yours?
I have a comic that's been a passion project of mine. It's always been in the back of my mind, and only in the last few years have I started to let those ideas congeal, and I kind of got a concept of how I want the story to unfold, and now I'm actually writing it and putting some artwork down, and it's going to happen. And by the 2020 or 2021 circuit, I'll have my comic will be completely out, and I'll have hopefully a couple of issues out.
All right, you're not sharing the title or anything or the concept. You don't want us to know
the working
anything?
title. The comic is going to be called. The working title is On My Honor.
Okay.
Which is So it's about a 13-year-old kid growing up and reading comics in the 90s. He actually has a comic of his own, and he gets into a car accident, and through a series of very natural events, his brain, his neurons start firing, and his brain activity is a little higher than normal, and he gets didactic memory, he becomes photographic memory overnight, and he goes from being this Dungeons and Dragons playing, comic book reading, terror to his parents, just an average kid, to being like the smartest kid in the class overnight, and how he deals with that and the fallout from that, and how he tries to keep his identity and not become a nerd or an outcast, because of he kind of keeps the changes to himself. And the main protagonist of the comic that he writes inside the comic, he kind of confides in the character and has I would say Calvin and Hobbes-ish kind of relationship with his own comic character, and that's who he confides in, so he doesn't have to tell his friends, "Hey, I remember everything now," and they don't look at him like a weirdo.
All right, that sounds intriguing. So it's not capes and boots. This is
no, not at all.
This is interest, but this is like, it almost sounds like you could be telling your story, or like an Inception, like it's a story within a story within another story.
Well, there's definitely a story within a story there, and there's definitely some elements of this character that I pull from my own tale, and that's how I think a lot of the best stories are written. You go with what you know.
Yeah, I was totally expecting the answer to this question to be Pouches.
Well, Pouches is the character that is his character inside of the story. So Wyatt is my main character is Wyatt, and 13-year-old Wyatt draws his own comic, and the comic is called Pouches.
Okay, well now it's come full circle. I really thought you were just doing a Pouches comic book. I didn't know that we were going deep. And
no, Pouches is a creation of a 13-year-old fictional child inside of my book.
Who was in the 90s.
Correct. And of course, he's going with what he knows, so his character is an amalgamation of everything about that over-the-top era in comic book history. Segmented metal arms and legs, and a scar over the eye, an earpiece, and anything you could think of. So,
well, that's exciting, dude. And I've seen that you've gotten a little bit of traction with the Pouches stuff. You've gotten some pretty high-end additions to the art book, I guess you would call it, or is it the coloring book?
Yeah, it was. Well, I've been collecting these pieces of art for a while. It was nice to put out I wasn't originally going to announce Pouches to the world first. That wasn't my intention. But someone that we both know saw my Instagram post back in 2015 when I first created Pouches, and then this person decided to take and make his own version of the character and call him, something with a name that was very similar, and call it his own idea, and put a little had the balls to put a copyright symbol, and all that was cute, and all of that was fine and dandy, and then he put the character in print.
Yeah.
And up until that point, I didn't care that he wasn't handing off credit, but when he put the character in print, calling it his own, and started to profit off of the character, that really irked
Chapped
me.
your
That's
butt.
why you saw the bleed. That's why you saw the Bleeding Cool story that got ran, and what have you.
Now, Now with this person, there's not much about this person that I like nowadays.
Well, you have to have people like that so you can appreciate people who are humble, like people like Stanley Lau. I don't necessarily collect Art Germ's work, but I love him as a creator. I love the fact that I get to call him a fellow creator in an industry that's so close to my heart, because he's so humble and he's so sweet.
Yeah,
he's a sweet guy,
a genuine dude.
He'll always tell you, that, positivity, there's always a way, find a way. Everything he says, he's like a Buddhist, he's like a Weight Watchers Buddha.
Yeah, but oh man, that sucks about the whole pouches thing.
Not really, because when people see this character on my table moving forward, they're going to say, "Oh, that's so and so's character," and I'll have actually it's the other way around. But I have the books available, $5.99 or whatever.
Is that the coloring book?
He's it's not a coloring book. I call it a sketchbook because most of the pieces in there are black and white sketches.
Okay.
So I have a sketchbook that's out, Pouches Sketchbook Volume 1, available on my website, artofkylewillis.com. But yeah, I've got all kinds of creators in there, like Bryan SilverBax is in the sketch, the blank sketch cover variant.
This was not for that, but I was just, you have gotten a number of cool ass people to be part of the project.
Yeah, I got Marat Michaels to do the sketch, the cover in an amazing Spider-Man 300 pose, which was just phenomenal, and I colored it, and it just came out looking way better than I could have ever dreamed. But that's what happens when you get somebody like Marat on board. He's another person who's just a sweetheart. Every time you see him in person, he's so humble and he's so thankful. Someone that has as many fans as he does and who can knock something out of the park with Kickstarter the way that he does, and you can meet him in person and he makes you feel like you're the only person at the damn convention. Like, that's the kind of person I want to brush elbows with. That's the kind of person I want to look up to.
Oh, that's cool stuff. Now, for your comic book, the working title of On Your Honor, are you doing all the work? Are you doing all the writing, all the pencils and the inking and the coloring?
I was going to do both, but I got myself painted into a place where I have to make a living, and
Yeah.
I don't want to put one issue out every 2 years or every 3 years. So the story is what's closest to me, and that's what means the most to me. I learned the hard way going through the 90s that killer artwork isn't enough to carry a title. So I'm going to make sure that the story is solid and that it's everything that I need it to be, and I'm using the proceeds from selling this sketchbook to hire someone to do the interior of the book. So I'm going to worry about the writing, and I'm probably going to have someone else do the artwork.
Like all the artwork? I mean, someone could just pencil it for you, and then you can ink over it and save some money there.
Well, that's one thing I'm not going to cheap on, I'll cheap out on a light projector, but I'm not going to cheap out on this passion project that I've had inside of me.
But you're an artist,
my whole
so
life.
I wasn't meaning that as cheaping out, but I mean, you are an artist, so to ink someone else's work, I don't see that as being cheaping out.
Well, I mean, maybe I would ink someone else's art, but I don't think that I'm the world's best inker. I've been inking my own stuff for as long as I can remember.
That's pretty much all I do.
And yeah, I mean, I have yet to get into using nibs and traditional comic book inking.
I don't either.
I've even bought some, and I can't, and it's really hard to even conceptualize inking my own stuff when I'm on Instagram watching someone else, ink their stuff with ease, and it just looks so killer. And they're using these nibs, and they're able to get one stroke, and they got 4 different thicknesses in one stroke, and it just looks so beautiful. And here I am over here with my Pentel pocket brush pen going,
hey, there's nothing wrong with that Pentel pocket brush pen.
Well, I didn't think so either, but I'm looking at what I'm able to do versus what someone else. I don't want to look at the artwork and worry about that. I want to worry about the story, and that's okay.
So you will not be kickstarting this project?
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. When I get the first issue completed, I got about 70% of the first issue written. When I get the thing fully written, then I'll start making a game plan. I really need to get the story out before I decide what the next step is.
And you're writing the story as if it was a graphic novel, right? No page restrictions or anything.
Correct.
Like you're not just saying, I gotta get 22 pages.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
You have a creative team that you work with. Like who is your idea man? Because I know that I function better when I talk to somebody and like have like someone that is kind of doesn't have to be as passionate about it, but isn't like just there for you to talk and bounce ideas around with. Do you have one of those?
Not in a traditional sense. You know, I rely a lot on my social media following and people that also collect books. But working from home in a city that I didn't grow up in, and being indoors as much as I am, I don't really have that circle. I don't. Now that I'm not drinking, I don't have like boys that I kick it with here in Jacksonville. So I rely on my online friends for that. I don't really have a creative team.
Yeah, I don't either. I want one though. I want one.
If you see one at Target, you let me know what aisle they're in.
Yeah, well, I've been looking. Like, I really just wanted like, and I don't have to be around them all the time, but like once a month, I need to get together with like a collective of people, and you tell me the ideas that you're working on, and we'll talk about them, and then I'll talk about my ideas that I'm working on, and we'll talk about them. And I think shit would get, like, it would just help me feel better. I don't know what it is. I think it's an internal.
I think any creative could benefit from a monthly Randy rally like that. The unfortunate thing about my position is that I've got a lot of fellow creators in Jacksonville. I've got a lot of amazing artists, and 90% of the time when I see them, we're working an event together, and we're worried about talking to a prospective client instead of, chatting with each other about, hey, this is what I'm working on. But yeah, I would love a rap session like that. I just, maybe I should take more time, at Comic Cons and rap with my fellow creators at Comic Con. It was really nice to meet. I did have an outlet at SuperCon. I was next to this guy, Mike Roll, the artist Mike Roll. Look him up. His stuff is very, very fun. But it was nice picking his brain and bouncing ideas back and forth off of him. He's definitely the kind of person that if I had a small circle for a monthly, Randy rally, he'd be in there.
That's cool. I think I'm just because I too only eat if I sell stuff. So when I'm at the show, I'm in business mode for the most part. And when I'm done with the show,
now that I'm learning, I've learned a lot more about comics that I'm not into since I've been doing the convention circuit. Because before I just had my head in my Spawn and my SpiderMan and Venom stuff, and now I'm learning. You can't help but glean information about variant covers and other companies. So I definitely take some of my profit when I'm at a show, and I'll buy books that I know that I can only get at that show, so that I can turn a profit off of them when I get home.
Oh, so you're buying stuff to flip, is what you're saying? Like you also want to make money as a flipper.
I'll buy stuff that you can only. Well, I mean, I'm not there as a flipper. I'm there to sell my artwork. But I'll take requests for clients, and I had Bo Bacchus asked me to pick up an Alan Qua sketchbook while I was at MegaCon, so I got one. I got it signed for him. He knew Marat was going to be there. He asked me to get him a remark from Marat, so I got a remark, and I submitted it to be graded. And so yeah. I mean, technically I'm flipping it, but I don't really look at it as a flipper situation.
A lot of people use flipper in like a derogatory connotation, and that's not what I meant by that. But like.
Correct. The same thing goes for the term cover swipes. A lot of people cringe when they hear that phrase, and I think of it as a term of endearment. So I understand. But
now, is it a cover swipe or is it an homage?
Capacity, there you go. That's the $1 million question. That's the arguable question right there.
Like I really dig doing an homage cover. Like it. For me, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. It's something recognizable, and now I have two possible audiences that may like the cover: the people that like the IP that I'm doing, and the people that collect that cover that I'm homaging when I do it.
Absolutely. And you line up 50 comic collectors or people in this world and you ask them what the difference is between a cover swipe and a homage, and every one of them is going to articulate something completely different to you. Some people think that, if you don't put after so-and-so, then it's a cover swipe and not a homage, and a homage. And some people say as long as it resembles it and you can tell without thinking about it that it resembles that other cover, then it's an automatic homage, whether it says after so-and-so or, with inspiration by it or not. And I'm just like, I kind of stand back and I like the person on the edge of the mosh pit, and I let them argue about it because I don't care. The word cover swipe, I love that term. I think it's a catchy catchphrase, which is why I bought the domain coverswipes.com, because I knew it was catchy, just like Ray Kroc knew McDonald's was catchy, which is why he scammed those brothers out of their name.
Yeah, I watched that movie. That movie was crazy.
I love Michael Keaton. Come on now.
Oh, dude, Michael Keaton is the jam. Like, I watched Multiplicity the other day because it's free on Vudu. I love Multiplicity. I love Gung Ho.
Tuck, fold. Why? Because air is the enemy. Multiplicity is the jam.
Yeah. Dude, I don't think enough people know that Vudu has the free movies.
I don't even know. Man, I got Hulu, I got Netflix, I got HBO, and Amazon Prime. I mean, I don't need another thing.
No. Vudu is what you use when you get your digital copies, right? Like when you buy a movie and it comes with that little certificate that says redeem your free digital copy of a movie.
Oh, is that what it is? Well, I mean, the only time I've taken a digital copy of something, I used it with it's in my Amazon collection.
Oh, so you're using Amazon Prime?
Somebody had a free promo. Yes, so somebody had a free when Venom came out on DVD. Somebody had a free redeemable code, and I used it on Amazon, and it added it to my movies that I own on Amazon.
So when you redeemed that, you could have chosen redeem on Amazon or redeem on Vudu. Vudu is another service that much the same way. So I'm a Vudu guy, but because I have Vudu, all of my redeeming codes are on my Vudu account, and Vudu also has like a free movie section where they'll play like one or two ads in the beginning and the middle and the end, and then you can watch the movies, and it rotates every month, like which movies they have.
Yeah, we just discovered the IMDb app. The IMDb, you can watch movies on that. Now they got ads, but we watched The Never-Ending Story on there the other night. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, I need
to talk about a movie that's dear to you that doesn't hold up.
Dude, I don't think anything from my 80s love, if I go back and watch it now, I can't rewatch them. I have to love them for what they were when I watched them, but I can't go back and watch them.
How old are you? You're my age, right? How old are you?
Like 43, I think.
All right, I'm 41, so you're like right there with me. Flight of the Navigator, The Last Starfighter, like all those were our jam when we were kids, right? So, I'm terrified after watching the Never-Ending Story. As a 41-year-old, I'm terrified to watch any of them.
I won't watch it, but I've tried to go back and watch He-Man, Masters of the Universe. Those are terrible.
The live action?
No. The cartoons.
Oh.
I mean,
don't try to watch the A-Team. Holy crap.
But I'm saying
the first 20 minutes of the first episode.
The cartoon. Well, I mean, dude, Rambo had a cartoon in the 80s, but those cartoons that I grew up liking and loving and buying all the action figures, I grew out of it, and now here I am. I'm like, I can go back and watch those. Those things are terrible.
I think it's important to go back and watch. So not only it might diminish your love for it. Nothing's going to take away the fact that you love these things as a kid, and they might be awful now. But sometimes you can relearn something about yourself by watching them, things that you forgot.
I don't know. I find it painful.
Things that maybe aren't so great. Yeah, I guess it depends on the thing.
I'm trying to think of some movies that I tried going back and watching, and I just couldn't do it. But one that I love, Big Trouble in Little China. Even though the special effects are a little wonky on that or aged, I still enjoy the movie.
Yeah, like the effects sucked even when they came out on Evil Dead, but I'll watch that right now.
So,
speaking of things that date themselves, a couple years ago they put MASH on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
When's the last time you watched an episode of MASH?
I never watched an episode of MASH, so I can say never.
All right.
I was
we put
aware
on
of it.
The first episode, and these dudes they weren't in the middle of surgery, but they were doing something, and they were referring to another character, and they were like, "What do you think about old Spear Chucker over there?" And then the camera cut to like this black guy sleeping, and me and my wife, we looked at each other like, "What the what?"
Yeah, I've noticed that.
And we had to look it up. And dude, not only was this dude's name, they weren't saying derogatory things about him. That was his name in the television show was Spear Chucker Jones.
Oh wow!
And he was a surgeon in the television show, and they took him out after the first season because
I wonder why.
Test audience. I'll tell you why. Test audiences refused to believe that there was a black surgeon during the Korean War. Not because it was a racist thing.
Oh wow, dude! It just shows
Dude,
like there's
it's just insane.
so much if you go back and watch some old television, and I can't even think of any right now, but the old I'm guarantee you there's gonna be some racial shit. Like you go back and watch Kojak and any of those shows like that, I'm sure they make sly references to races. It's just
Who Loves Your Baby?
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. How far I'm glad that we've come this far, but the amount of tolerance for that type of stuff back then, I guess I don't know, man.
It's wild. It's a lot more prevalent back then. The way men sexualized women.
Oh yeah.
But the racism was definitely rampant,
and it just seemed to be accepted. Like that was just commonplace.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What are you working on today?
I'm updating Cowabunga Comics, the website. I got some care packages in. Another finger of what I do for a living is I do graphic design for comic companies, and they pay me in comics. Yay! It's better than exposure.
Like what? So explain that to me. Like comic book companies. Like,
all right. So when's the last time you saw a Scorpion Comics variant cover?
The only one I can remember is that badass one that they did a while back, the Thanos one, I think.
Everything they do is badass. They almost hit it out of the park 10 out of 10 times, almost.
Okay, I'm not super hip.
Books, fair enough. Well, in an effort to step their game up, about in the last year, they've made the decision that every book that they send out is going to come into My Light, which is, the thick, collectible, acid-free, high-grade plastic.
Oh, the Mylar comic things?
The My Lights.
Okay.
My Lights is like the name brand Mylar.
Okay.
So they send them in that, and they all have a numbered COA. Most of their books are limited. Sometimes there's only 600 of them. Sometimes they're as low as 125.
Okay.
Every book comes with a numbered certificate of authenticity, and I design them for them.
You design the certificates?
Yes.
And the stickers?
So they don't have stickers. They just have COAs.
Oh, I thought you meant like a sticker to seal the...
Nope. It's a COA, Certificate of Authenticity. I'm saying it a little fast, I guess. But every time you see on their social media when they have a slab, it's a mock-up of a pre-sale 9.8 CGC with signature series and all that. I do all those mock-ups for them. I do all the mock-ups for Artgerm Collectibles and a few others. So today I got one of my care packages. I got my Artgerm Collectibles care package. So I'm going to be
right on.
These books.
You got that from Corey?
I got some. I did. Yep. His headquarters is about 5 miles from the house. So the wife's actually, while I was getting ready to set up with you, she was there picking up the books for me.
All right. Now, so you do the COA. So you design the COAs for them. Is that like a one-time thing? Or do they need you like per series or?
Every new book that comes out.
Okay, so your design incorporates whatever the book is to make it even more badass.
I take the artwork of the upcoming cover. I'm very thankful I get to see it before anybody else gets to see it. So that's juicy. And I make the COAs.
So you do a COA for Scorpion. What is how many copies do you get? Do you get graded copies?
I get two of everything. Two of everything that comes out, and I see them at conventions, and they load me up.
Do you get the slabbed ones or do you get raw?
I always get raw books.
All right.
Sometimes they're signed, but I always get raw books.
All right, but that's you can't beat that. So you do.
No,
I'm not going to put the business out there.
I wouldn't try.
But you do like a half a day of work on it, and then you get 2 comic books that are pretty highly sought after.
That's it. And like I said, when they're knocking it out of the park, at least 9 out of 10 times, there's no complaints here.
Now, do you hide your name somewhere in that certificate of authenticity?
Should I?
I don't know. I would.
No, I don't. I think that it would honestly be disrespectful to the person whose art is actually on that cover, because that's their stuff. I'm helping make them look good, and that makes me feel good. I think it would take away from the experience to hide my signature in there.
No, I meant in the filigree or something.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Like all the little things that are hidden in the $1
And if
bill.
I did, I would lie about it profusely.
When I used to do artwork,
I just sent you an example of one of the COAs, so you can see what it looks like. I sent you the Thanos #1 Clayton Crane. So you can get an idea of what it looks like.
Yeah, when I used to do artwork, right as I was getting out of high school, I would. Let's see, when was it? I guess it was a little bit later. I don't know when it was. Oh, I used to hide the word B, because that was my nickname in high school, BEE. So I would hide as many times as I could the word B. All right,
Leaving your legacy peppered all over the place.
Yeah. So Thanos #1 Virgin variant by Clayton Crane, limited copies, and then Scorpion Comics Den of Damaged Comics. So you just come up with this layout. All right. I was thinking more of like a certificate of like when you graduate from somewhere and they have all those little like seals and little patterns and overlapping whatever it is.
I know what you mean, which is why I thought you might need the visual, but this is basically, it's the artwork takes up the background of the COA, and then there's a picture of the whole, usually Virgin variant comic, kind of all tilted on its axis there, and it'll say, each one of them when they go to print, they're printed individually, so it'll say 1 of 300, or 299 of 300, so every one of them is different when they get to the end user.
All right. Well, in that case, since I have just seen it, I would not hide your name anywhere on there either, because it doesn't look like there would be a place to put it. But I was thinking if it looked like a $1 bill or a $10 bill or something, had all that shit going on.
You bet your ass I'd put my picture in there.
Yeah.
I'd be
There's all kinds of stuff you could hide in there.
Making the SilverBaX face.
So when is your next show, man? We're coming up to we've been talking for about 50 minutes, so now we're coming up on the final push.
All right. Well, the gallery show at the Thrasher Warren, I'm gonna have, and the opening reception is this Thursday from 5:30 to 8 p.m. So that's gonna be at the Thrasher Warren Gallery in Orange Park, 283 College Drive, Orange Park, Florida.
All right. I don't know that I'll be able to make it, but you'll have my best wishes.
You'll see the photos, because everybody will see the photos. I've shown in galleries before, but usually it's somebody gets a retail space that they rent and they slap the name gallery on it, so such and such gallery. And, even though you can go in there and purchase artwork, it doesn't, there's a certain stature that when you walk into a gallery that has paying memberships and wow, I shouldn't be in here with shorts on, and this is going to be one of those situations. And it's my first experience delving in that world. It's, I've always wanted to have like a foot in both, the fine art and the fan art world, and I always find ways to bridge the gap.
Well, that's exciting.
Incorporating, fan art and comic book IP into classical Renaissance paintings. That's always been something that was very fun for me. So this is going to be my first step in the fine art world. It's going to be exciting. It's nice to be nervous about something for the first time.
Yeah, nervous in a positive way.
Yeah, like I'm kind of like, I was nervous about getting onto this podcast with you, because I've never been
I would hope that
a guest on a podcast before.
Well, I'm just shooting the shit. That's kind of what I do. That's part of the reason of the podcast. I just wanted it to be people talking. We don't have to. I don't need to come in here with an agenda and be like. I just want to talk to people and maybe educate someone who's listening on different ways of doing shit.
Nope.
That's my goal, and to have fun, be slightly entertaining. You know what I mean? Who knows? Who knows where it'll end up? What's the last movie you saw at the movie theater?
I went and saw SpiderMan. I went and saw it alone, and it was awesome.
Oh, dude, it was
nice to see a movie. It was nice to see a movie that I can tell was clearly not made for me. For my age bracket, it was clearly made for the younger audience, but it was my character, so I don't care. You know, I love Spider-Man. I always loved Spider-Man, and it was really nice to see so much love given to the character, even though it was generated for a much younger audience.
Yeah, but it was so much fun. And the misdirect with all the ads before, and the fact that they rub your face and the fact that they misdirected you was kind of hilarious.
Right, and the fact that you could see Mysterio. Well, I don't know if I want to. No spoilers.
Oh no, you can spoil whatever you want. But this is I'm going to be setting up a separate podcast where I discuss everything about the new movie. I just haven't. I don't have the guests for that yet. I just haven't figured out who I'm going to talk to.
It's just that the pictures that leaked of Jake Gyllenhaal with the outfit with the X's on it that later will have something CGI'd on top of it.
Yeah.
And to know that was part of the movie was just genius to me. Absolute genius.
I thought the funniest part.
Tell that these guys had the most fun making the movie. You can't fake that. You can't pretend to be having a good time. Like, they had so much fun filming this movie. It just looked like they had the best time ever.
I thought it was hilarious the way they talked. I guess it was maybe Nick Fury that was talking to Peter Parker and all them. It turns out not to be Nick Fury, but the whole thing was about misdirect. The fact that it wasn't Nick Fury, it was Talos, and they keep talking about these misdirects, and that's what they did with the promotion, talking about multiverse, because when they said multiverse in that trailer, my dick got hard. And when we go to watch the movie, it's a total like, we just kidding. It was hilarious. I think it was a great bit of marketing on their part to tease the audience, the smart marks, for a wrestling term, to tease the smart marks with this multiverse thing. And then when they go to watch the movie, there's a bunch of, got you.
Right. Well, it is nice to see that they're really pushing now on social media and the way they're marketing it. That it's possible we're going to see all of our former Spider-Man in a multiverse movie.
How awesome would that
even
be?
Remotely possible. Not only do I think it's going to happen because of what their DC is kind of, you know how they always copy each other's homework. So it looks like DC is going to do that. What the hell's the shift in the universe?
Oh, the Crisis.
They got the Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever, and it looks like Tom Welling is going to reprise.
Yeah,
Superman,
and Linda Carter.
Like all these different. Yeah, dude. So if they punk each other into giving this to us, we'll be the happiest pigs in shit of all time.
Did you watch are you watching the Swamp Thing series?
No. I just started The Boys. I'm on like episode 3 of The Boys.
I just finished episode 3 last night.
Terrifies me how good it is.
How good it is. I'm not familiar with the IP at all, so I never read the books. I didn't even know what they were about, but I love this show.
You know, I actually, because I have so much cover swipe or Homage BaX inventory for the website, I didn't even realize it until I double checked. But I've got The Boys. They did the Dark Knight Returns cover swipe, so. It's really cool. So I have it, so I'm just afraid to read. I won't get my fingerprints on it.
Yeah, it could be a lottery ticket.
Maybe. Proper Preparation and Planning, Part 1 by Garth Ennis.
Yeah, so I'm finished episode 3 on The Boys. There's only one more episode left on the Swamp Thing series.
That's the one that everybody loves, but it got canceled after the first episode dropped, right?
Yes.
What the hell is that all about? Why did that happen?
That was a financial thing. somehow $30 million that the team thought that they were going to have in their budget is misplaced. So without that $30 million, they can't finish. So they had a 13-issue story arc that they had to cut down to 10 episodes and put it out there, and it was just too expensive to film.
Wow.
So,
well, it looks like everybody's loving it. So
I loved it, but it is so dark, and I don't mean dark as in dark as in content. The actual color grading is so dark that you can't have on any lights in your room that you're watching it on because you can't see anything.
It's like the Battle of Winterfell. You got to watch it with the brightness all the way up,
yes.
and black out all your windows like a crackhead.
Golly, it's so dark. And the last episode was kind of cheesy. I'm hoping they go somewhere else, but there's only one episode left. So, but it was fun to watch. The special effects are great. The story is all right, and you just can barely see it. So it's not super. You know what I'm saying? It's like watching the first season of The Punisher. It's like, ooh, great, we got the first season of The Punisher, but god dang, it's not even that good. And the second season's even worse.
I liked season 2. I thought that it was a healthy dose of something that we could all use. You know, looking at the emotional state of people. And
I get that, but when you tell me there's a Punisher series, I need some fucking asses to be kicked every episode.
Understood.
Like, I need him to. He should fire a gun at least 100 times in every episode. There should be 100 shell casings per episode if you're going to call a series The Punisher. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like one episode in the entire season does he get to be fucking The Punisher. Everything else he's Frank Castle. Then call the series Frank Castle because this is garbage.
Fair enough. Yeah, there was a lot of bone, a little bit of meat. You're right.
But I do like John Bernthal as the Punisher. Like, I like him. I just think
I did not expect to like him. I actually thought that he didn't have any range as an actor until I saw that movie he was in with The Rock. Did you ever see that?
Oh, of course I did, but I'm trying to think of which one it is.
I can't remember what it was called. It was called like The Snitch or something.
Oh, Snitch. Yes.
Yeah, The Rock, his kid gets ecstasy mailed to him or whatever, and then, so, that was a really good movie. I was like, all right, this dude's got some range, you know, and then I saw him in Wolf of Wall Street. I'm like, all right, my first experience with him was Shane in The Walking Dead, and I was like, this is a non-actor. We'll never see him in anything again, and I'm so pleasantly, they got that idea turned on its head, because he does have range. He's awesome.
Yeah, I do. I like him, and like I said, I like the Punisher. I liked what they tried to do. They didn't give us enough Punisher when they did, and that goes the same for all of those Netflix shows. Outside of Daredevil, they just didn't like Luke Cage. It was kind of cool the first 6 episodes, and then everything else is kind of doo-doo.
The first season was like 2 seasons, the good season and the bad season.
Okay, well,
that second half of season 1 with that
Copperhead.
What was the guy's name? No, Copperhead was fine. The other guy.
That was the
Diamondback.
Diamondback, yeah.
Yeah, it was so horrible. I was like, what the hell happened? Did they fire somebody?
Yeah, I don't know. His contract was up, and they're like, we can only use you for 6 episodes, and we got to make a new bad guy.
Yeah, it was the good and the bad. Holy crap.
But now he's going to be Blade, so that's all good.
Blade. And they were talking about introducing him in the multiverse.
And Blade? Or Luke Cage?
No, Blade.
Oh yeah, well that's why they count. He's going to have his own movie and all that good stuff.
Yeah, they were talking about introducing him in what's it called? Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, I imagine they're going to bring a bunch of people in at that point. Like I bet that's where we're going to get the first Fantastic Four tease, or the first mutant tease is in that movie.
I tell you right now, I don't need any more Fantastic Four before I need a lot of other stuff that I didn't know that I needed. Give me some other stuff. Don't try to give me Fantastic Four this fast.
I think
what they had another failed attempt at Fantastic Four. I don't need it. Again, I don't need any more X-Men right now. Not yet.
No, but give
us some other stuff.
Here's what they're going to do smartly. If there's, in my opinion, smartly is they're going to give us little characters from those franchises sprinkled in, but they're not going to drop like a Fantastic Four movie. Like maybe
Please,
Doctor
don't.
Strange goes and visits, his buddy Reed Richards, and then he gives him the secret formula to do something. But it won't be like that's an integral part to the story. Like I think we're going to start hearing stuff.
Movies. I need some villain movies in my life. You want to give me some movies? Give me a villain movie. Let me see.
Oh, like some Doctor Doom
perspective. Yeah, give me a Doctor Doom movie. Give me a Kingpin movie. Give me a where did Mr. Sinister come from and what is his perspective and point of view. Give me something that makes me feel for him. And then when you see him and he becomes the bad guy, you can almost root for the bad guy because people like to root for the villain, but you got to give them some kind of reason to root for the villain, right? Everybody loves Darth Vader, but until we got the prequels, we didn't have a reason. We're just psychopaths.
I really appreciated Thanos.
They did okay with Thanos. Thank God they took horrible source material and they put it into something that made some sense. Because his reasoning for doing what he did in the books, I'm sorry, y'all, that's dumb. This is the dumbest thing ever. I'm in love with the physical embodiment of death, and she won't talk to me, so I'm going to amass all the power in the universe and blink half of it out of existence to try to win her heart. What? I would have laughed you out of the boardroom if you would have pitched that to me.
I'm sure somebody pitched it.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, do you have any? Oh, give me your website one more time, sir.
Well, my artwork can be found at artofkylewillis.com, and I also own cowabungacomics.com, which is the parent company of coverswipes.com.
All right. And you like people following you on Instagram and stuff?
Art of Kyle Willis on any social media platform that is appropriate for my age. So no, I don't have a Snapchat and I don't have all the other things, but I got the Instagram at Art of Kyle Willis. I got the Facebook, the Twitter, everything's at Art of Kyle Willis.
Which one of your social medias do you have the largest following on?
Facebook? Nope, Twitter. I've got 16,000 something Twitter followers.
Look at you killing it on Twitter.
I blame Sean Astin. I like to be clever with my guerrilla marketing, and I backed Sean Astin on some podcast he was trying to fund. He was trying to fund season 2 of his Vox Populi, political podcast for people who were very little informed or something like that.
Okay.
So I backed the first tier where he would actually have to mail me something, and then I took his return address and I did a watercolor painting of him and I mailed it back to him. And whoever his assistant was, she thought she got a real kick out of that. So she took his phone out of his hand, gave him the painting, made him hold it, and took a picture of him with it, and then tweeted at me, "Hey, look, a selfie with my picture." And then, I was at Art Walk, and it was 4 years ago, and dude, my Twitter just started blowing up, and it never happened before. My phone actually died,
lucky
with
you.
thousands and thousands of followers. And thanks to Sean Astin, appreciate you. Shout
That's
out,
pretty
Sean.
badass.
So. The social media platform I use the least has the largest amount of followers. I like Instagram the best, clearly, because I'm a visual guy, a visual artist. But Facebook, I get the most interaction on, I think.
All right.
A couple thousand on there.
So for my final push, just for those listening, I will be at Dragon Con this year. So come to the 4th floor of America's Mart on Labor Day weekend and come find me and all the other fine comic book people. I'll actually be up there with Richard Rivera from Scout Comics as well. And I think Chris Hamer will be there, and he's got a project on Scout that'll be out by then, I think. Or no, his book doesn't come out until the 20th, 2020. So, but yeah, so there'll be quite a number of Scout people up there on Artist Alley. So please come out to Dragon Con. And as always, you can follow me at SilverBaX.com or Bryan SilverBaX. It's pretty easy with a Y and with a BAX. Kyle, you got any final words?
Thank you for having me, and keep it groovy, everyone.
All right, there you go, fellas. Ladies and fellas, keep it groovy, and always stay creative.
It's almost time.